Well, we're all on lockdown at the moment, confined to our own homes. The interest in what's going on around the world is maybe bigger than ever. Forbes is a truly global brand. We have 35 local licensees across the globe, from Argentina to Indonesia, from South Africa to Finland. My name is Klaus. I'm the editor-in-chief of the German-speaking edition of Forbes, and we are in this format called Forbes Global Insights, going to talk to the editors-in-chiefs, the publishers, the CEOs of these licensees across the globe. Our first guest ever in this format, and we're quite excited to have him, is Márton Galambos, who's the editor-in-chief of Forbes in Hungary. And I'm interested to hear what our Eastern European neighbor is currently experiencing, what the business is looking like, the business world is looking like, what the economy is doing, and how entrepreneurs are faring, as well as how the media industry is currently experiencing, which upturns they're experiencing. Márton, it's great to have you. Thank you so much.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Márton, where are you at the moment? Are you in the office? Are you at home?
No, we are absolutely on the home office front, so everybody is working from home. I'm also working from our weekend house close to Budapest, so I'm not even in the city. The weather is really nice. The Danube is close. The kids are playing in the garden.
Give us a bit of an idea of what the atmosphere is like in Hungary at the moment. I checked, and the official numbers say that there's 2,200 reported cases, a bit more, and about 240 deaths, something like that. But what's the atmosphere like? Is it a nationwide lockdown? Are people scared? Are the streets empty? What's it like in Hungary, Budapest, and around the country?
Basically, it's a partial lockdown. So you can leave your homes, you can leave your houses, you can go to the stores. Even some stores are open and they are not forced to be closed until 3 p.m. So it's mixed, and obviously supermarkets, pharmacies, gas stations are allowed to be open. Obviously, not many people are on the streets. Most people are not using public transportation, and whoever can is working from home. So it's mostly home office. Google did an analysis of some countries 2 weeks ago, 11th of April, and there they said that the Hungarian mobility is on a 50%. So we went back to 50%, and 30-40% of the people are working from home.
How are you at Forbes Hungary is doing? How has it been for you as an editor-in-chief and for the company itself? And also maybe as a broader picture, how's the media industry doing financially in Hungary? Are ad revenues going down? Are subscriptions going up? What's going on?
Well, we were about to have a 500 plus event on the 13th of March, which was obviously closed and was not held, and we had to announce it 2 days before. So it was a big blow, but since then we already had our first online event, and we are planning our big whole day online event, Be Better Day, for the 22nd of May. So we are coping with it. We manage. We haven't been to the office since 16th of March. I mean, journalism generally is something you can do from home. So it's not that you have to be in the office. And I think as many people, we also experience that actually you can work on Zoom. It's possible. I mean, our photographers are on the streets. They go out, they do photo shooting from windows in the gardens and all other creative ways. So that's fine. Well, advertisers are a bit more cautious, and obviously our main issue is going to be, I mean, there are going to be much less advertisement in it than usually. Altogether, the media industry is hit pretty hard. Some publishing houses are actually decreasing salaries altogether for everyone. I've heard about 20% in 2 big publishing houses. Other media outlets has already sent some journalists away. I mean, it's a cash game and it's a fear game. It's dependent on how much money you have and how pessimist or optimist you are regarding the future.
How have you been covering the coronavirus pandemic? Have you been actually covering it? Have you had staff assigned to it, or did you do more the economic impact? What's Forbes Hungary doing at the moment?
Well, we focus on the business aspect, and especially how companies are changing their business plans and how they are actually changing their business activities. We don't have a new staff. It's an editorial of certain people for a monthly magazine, for an online site, and the events. So it's not that we can be part of the news game or the news race. But there are many companies who have been actually zeroed, so went from 100 to 0, and now they are fighting for 20 or 30% of the capacity that they had before. So from a journalistic point of view, these are very interesting times, and we try to cover what businesses are doing, how you can cope with it, and obviously we are searching, we are looking for companies who have the ideas, who have the creativity, who can change the game, what's going around them.
Speaking of it, I mean, what's the situation like for businesses in Hungary? What are entrepreneurs doing? Maybe you can give us one or two examples of companies adapting quickly or that you've maybe covered. What do you see there?
I mean, there are a couple of wholesale companies, especially who were selling stuff for restaurants and hotels. Obviously, they have no clients right now, and tourism was very high in Hungary in the recent years. It was really a boom. Everybody came to Budapest with these low-cost airlines. Now the low-cost airlines are on the ground and hotels and restaurants are closed. So these wholesale companies are trying to change and sell to people because home delivery is really hot right now. And actually you have to reserve a time window for yourself in 2-3 weeks ahead. So if you can create a good home delivery service, you win. We have written about a startup who really changed from one day to another to a good home delivery. And then there are these wholesale companies, used to work for restaurants, now try to sell for people, but it's difficult because you can't sell 20-30 kilograms of meat for a household.
There are huge rescue packages going on from public money. How's the situation? What is the government doing for businesses that have reductions in revenues, that are struggling for the survival? What's the government's aid at the moment?
It's smaller and it's not as fast as, for example, what I've seen in the Czech Republic or especially in Germany. So most analysts say that what the government has so far done is a good direction. We have our Hungarian Kurzarbeit, but it's not as extensive, and it was pretty slow how they introduced it. Also, after the introduction in 1 week, the government has already changed it. They tried to make it a bit broader, and they poured more money in it. It's still not the big thing. I'm not sure if they are hoping that the effects are not going to be as huge in Hungary, or they are trying to save the state budget, or it's something else. We don't know yet.
What do you see for the economy in Hungary? What do you think is the outlook? Is it going to bounce back more quickly than other countries in Europe or globally, or is it going to be a hard hit for Hungary as well?
It's very interesting. The IMF has published a report, and in that they said that Hungary is going to be the least affected by the coronavirus after Malta in the whole European Union. Actually, it was a very short report. They didn't say why, but their prediction is that it's minus 3%, which would be kind of okay for this year. Other analysts would say that it's minus 7% recession, so it's really up in the air. It's a bit depending on the Austrian economy, and it's very much depending on the German economy. So I guess we are looking at the same direction.
How are restrictions for travel to Austria, to Germany, where a lot of Hungarians are working? How are these affecting the country? Have you heard anything about that?
Not that much. All I've heard is from my friend who is actually still in Vienna.
Okay.
But he's working, he stayed there. He didn't come home.
He's stuck, or he wants to be in Vienna?
I think he's pretty fine in Vienna.
Okay. When you hear about Hungary in international media, it's usually about what the government is doing, politics, and this indefinite state of emergency that was passed. I mean, state of emergency is nothing novel. Most governments have implemented it, but this indefinite time frame was something that caused a stir. How did you follow these news stories as a not a political journalist, but obviously a Hungarian citizen.
I mean, it was a piece of shock for most people, most journalists in Hungary as well. I think it has no practical meaning. There will be elections in Hungary in 2022. The state of emergency is not going to be here forever, but it has a symbolic meaning. And the symbolic meaning is that the government, Fidesz, says that we do whatever we want to do. We don't care about perception. We don't care about Western critic. We do it because we have the power to do it. This is the message that they are sending. This is not a new message, by the way. The Hungarian government has been sending this message for a long time, and now they are doing it just the same way as they did before, in a more extreme mode, because times are more extreme. So it's just the reaction to the coronavirus. It's a symbolic thing, and it's not a good piece of news.
When you look at what's being covered, or how Hungary is painted, basically there was a big story in the New York Times. There was a big interview in Austrian public TV with your Minister of Justice, and it's always basically the same way that Hungary is being portrayed. Do you feel that's a fair way of viewing it, or is it sometimes a bit skewed from outside media?
My perception of these international interviews is that our government is really professional in communicating, and is really professional, and they are very well prepared. So it's not that they are smart people, they are communicating well, they know their own facts, and they know much more about Hungary and the situation in Hungary than most journalists in the Western world. So sometimes they are in an easy position to say, well, to show the facts from their own perspective. I think it's pretty fair. When you're living in Hungary, when you have your daily life, it's really nice here in Budapest or close to Budapest. And when we didn't have coronavirus, we really had, economy was booming, tourists were coming to Budapest, Forbes was doing very nicely, so it's not that our daily life are distorted by these political events, but they are here, we know them, they have been evolving last 10 years, and whenever they clash with Western journalists, it's always interesting to see. Sometimes these journalists don't know enough about Hungary, and they simply cannot be as prepared as government people who are pretty much ready for hard propaganda. So they are not afraid of pushing their agenda. So they do it.
Have you in the editorial department had any troubles with reporting, any pressures, or is Forbes just being left alone and you can report on the entrepreneurs and the success stories?
We have been left alone, and we don't report on politics.
Nothing, so, never.
No, not really. We have always had this business focus, and especially this popular business focus. So it's, whenever we get close to politics, is the richest Hungarians list. We do that based on the American methodology. We are very transparent how we are calculating. So it's an easy thing to do, or it's not an easy thing to do, but at least it's a straightforward thing to do.
Speaking of the rich list and the billionaires list, how have the richest people of Hungary been affected by this Corona crisis? How have the billionaires? How much of a hit have the billionaires from Hungary taken?
I mean, the hit, most of them who are very close to the government, I think they were hit more because their wealth is not based on a market performance, on a business performance, but their wealth is much more based on connections and government money. So most probably they were hit harder, but it would be very early to say anything. We will see this later on.
You said before that it depends on what your view is of the future. Is it optimistic? Is it pessimistic? What's your or let's say maybe Forbes Hungary's view of the future? Do you think this will go away quickly and the economy will come back globally, or are you more skeptic about this?
I mean, we will do everything so that it goes away quickly. I think there is going to be a real restart in September, and people will get back to normal, or at least to a new kind of normal. We will hopefully get used to this, and numbers and hospital situation, emergency situation in Hungary has been so far really okay. We were expecting much worse. There isn't an overcrowded hospital situation, and hopefully the peak of the virus is coming sometimes in May, beginning of May. So hopefully we can get through this without any similar scenes as we see from New York or in Italy, and then we can do everything we can to do a good 2020.
We mentioned before, tourism is a big economic driver. I think, I don't know, 10% or 9% of Hungarian GDP come from tourism, something like that. Do you see that the Hungarian economy as a whole might adapt a bit to becoming less dependent on single, industries, or do you think when things start back up again, tourism will be just as important as it was?
Well, I would be surprised if tourism would get back to normal in 2020. That's more like a psychological thing, although this whole bounce is very much about psychology as well. But I would be surprised if this Christmas would be the same crowded in either of our cities as last Christmas was.
Márton, a final question is, as this is called F15 and we're trying to keep the time short and precise. Is there a book, an article, a movie, whatever people should watch or read or consume to understand better the Hungarian soul, the Hungarian identity, or what's going on in Hungary at the moment? Do you have any recommendations?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, there is a Hungarian site called Index, INDEX. They do publish English articles. So if you're looking for news coverage from Budapest, about Hungary, you could go to Index. The book or the film, I would skip now.
Thank you so much, Márton. When all of this is over, we hope that you can come to Vienna for a beer and a goulash.
I would choose the coffee rather, but otherwise, yes.
I heard that the Viennese make even better Hungarian dishes than the Hungarians, but that's just local pride here. Thank you so much for your views. I think it was quite enlightening for everyone that's just following Hungary from a distance. All the best to Forbes in Hungary, and hope to see you again soon in person.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye.